This is Talk of the Devils, the athletic show dedicated to Manchester United. Coming up, it's just a few hours after the match finished at Old Trafford. United beginning their Premier League season with a defeat against Arsenal. The performance certainly different, but the outcome pretty similar, unfortunately, to what we've seen before. We'll have all the reaction from inside Old Trafford, and we'll also talk about the position for Manchester United in the transfer window after talks for Carlos Baleba came to an end. But we're back in the studio in Manchester, just across the way from Old Trafford. We've literally just taken our seats after being at the game. We're not quite smiling. There's reasons to be a bit more optimistic, but it's the same result.
Well, the team have lost, so there's always going to be the cloud above everything we talk about because the team have not had a winning start to the season. But I saw, and I think you all did, lots of positives from Manchester United's performance. And it's the first game of the season. The weather was great at Old Trafford. There's a buzz about seeing your friends. It's not just about the game.
People have got the shorts on.
People got the shorts on. I handed sun cream out for the first time in 37 years at a Manchester United home game today.
Why are you handing sun cream out at all?
Because I care about other people, and I'm getting older. You become more caring about other people.
You've used quite a lot on those legs, haven't you, to be fair?
My brothers call them chicken legs. Someone said to me today, you look like a deckhand on someone else's luxury yacht. Like, what are you saying? I'm a cleaner.
Ratcliffe's luxury yacht.
Yeah. So, positives, absolutely. I thought Man United played well.
Yes.
But didn't score and lost another game. But fundamentally, I thought Manchester United played well.
So, happy with what you saw despite the result, or unable to be happy about what you saw because of the result?
Definitely the latter. Would happy be pushing it just generally anyway, though? Possibly satisfied or encouraged, maybe.
What were you encouraged by?
Certainly the two number 10s, right? The two players that they spent all this money on, they showed up in my eyes. Cunha in particular, I thought he carried the ball. He had that aggression, that energy, lasted throughout the game as well. Cunha and Mbeumo too, perhaps started a little bit quieter, but then grew into the game.
That first touch was not starting quietly, young man.
Not quietly, but
that first touch was a proper first touch for a Manchester United player.
Remind me then.
Remind me as well.
Do you not remember
No.
it? I was purring about it. The ball comes long. I can't remember where it came from, but it's like, what's he going to do with this? And he brought it down perfectly straight into his own path, and it just was like, yes, this is the way to start an United shirt. You're right, though. I think of the two, it was Cunha that maybe caught the eye a little bit more, but they both had their chances.
Well, Mbeumo had the best chance, didn't he? The header that he managed to find space in the box for, that ability to, despite not being the tallest of players, if you're in the right place and you've got that anticipation, then you can get those chances away. And it was a good header. It wasn't quite in the corner, and Raya obviously was able to sort of palm it away. So that was unlucky. The overhead kick was kind of spectacular. Didn't quite time it right, but he had that energy about him, even in like 93rd minute, pressing out of possession to win the ball off Lewis Skelly, win the foul, get him booked, so that's the kind of drive. And I think those two combined, I think United will be fine this season if they can just keep playing like that. If those two play like that against Fulham, for example, I think United win, quite simply. I think Arsenal got the goal early, defended pretty deep, were pretty boring. And I mean, this is how they play now, isn't it, really, Arsenal? It's kind of, not the most entertaining anymore. But maybe United's ascendancy was impacted by Arsenal just sitting on the lead a little bit. But I feel that other teams might not have those two banks so outrightly.
Yeah, I think when you look at the balance of the game, it felt more like Manchester United's game than Arsenal's. Arsenal wanted to calm things down, wanted to slow the tempo down. United wanted to make it chaotic, and it felt like a chaotic 90 minutes plus stoppage time, which tells me that it was more United dictating what went on rather than Arsenal. The frustration is that you open social media after the game, you listen to some of the match reports after the game, and people are saying, right, this record's continued, that record's continued. It's another home defeat. It's another goal conceded from a set piece. It's a problem with the goalkeeper again. And they need to be very careful, United, that they're not dragged back into all the sort of scar tissue of last season and they actually start afresh properly. It begins to put a little bit more pressure perhaps on what's coming, which obviously we'll talk about maybe on the next episode later on in the week. But fundamentally, you look at some of the things that you want from a Manchester United team. You want energy, you want intensity, you want enthusiasm. They were chasing down lost causes. And I think really they deserved at least a point, didn't they, in that sense?
But, deserved to win. Manchester United played well today. And the players you mentioned, Cunha, I thought was Manchester United's best player. The points you mentioned then about social media, you covered like 3 or 4 different points there. We might discuss, for example, the goalkeeper as we go in this conversation. I think part of social media is that knee-jerk emotion. You've lost. You've spent the summer gradually seeing the mood rise as new players have come in, and then bang, you lose the match. But I wasn't impressed by Arsenal at all. I thought the goalkeeper had a very good game. He was their best player.
7 saves he made. That's the most any goalkeeper's made in the Premier League.
Super spectacular
so
saves.
No.
The Cunha one was good, actually. I hadn't appreciated that at the time. Okay. How good that was. And that, again, Cunha sort of bursting through between plays. He did that repeatedly, didn't he?
He did it for Wolves at Old Trafford, didn't he?
It looks like he's going to get tackled and he doesn't.
No, he's good. Yeah. And sometimes you need it with this Manchester United team. You felt that he was thinking, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to go for goal myself and go past 3 or 4 players. And the end shot was a little bit weak, and we saw a bit of that, but encouraging interplay between him and Mbeumo. I actually thought Mason Mount worked really hard.
He's bright, wasn't he?
I'm glad you went there first, Andy, because I was going to say that, because I know he's actually had some criticism again online, but I thought he played well.
Well, I think he set a bit of a tempo in terms of the energy in those front positions as well, because that's one of the criticisms of Cunha, is that he hasn't always got that intensity without the ball. I'd be interested to look at his sprinting stats, because that was the first thing that was going around when United signed him, that he spent more time walking than anyone else in the Premier League last season. But he didn't feel like that today at all, really, did it?
I tell you, when Mount sprinted back, that got the biggest roar of the first half when he came back and won that challenge.
On Saka,
if you make Mount, you've got to score an assist at some point. You can't just be praised for your off-the-ball work for 9 months of a football season. And there were a couple of disappointing performances from Manchester United today, but Arsenal got away with that big time. Sometimes it evens itself out. Manchester United knocked them out of the cup last year and rode the luck a little bit. United played well at Arsenal last year. Quite scary how similar the goal conceded was coming from a corner, because that was at Arsenal last year. And it's not nice now, because you've got a full week where you're looking at this league table and Manchester United have won none, drawn none, lost one. But again, I thought Manchester United played well today. Yes, they can't be conceding goals like that. Yes, Manchester United need to start scoring goals. But I saw plenty of positives today.
Anything else before we talk about the goal and some of the maybe more negative points from the game? I feel like I want to sort of pep people up a little bit, because you sort of felt that emotion, people coming out was like, yeah, it's better, but we've still lost, and kind of want to give people reasons to be positive and not spend the week dwelling on the early embryonic league table.
Well, just if I may pause for a second on Mason Mount, just to go through some of the good points that he did. The reverse pass to Dorgu with his left foot, the crossfield pass to Dalot, who was in loads of space that he'd seen. There was a pass to Mbeumo that was like through the eye of a needle. So anyway, that's my section done on Mason Mount. I'm going to move on now to an England teammate of his who's also had injury problems, Luke Shaw, because that's perhaps was a debatable one. Aidan Heaven had played really well against Arsenal last season. Could he start in that position? He actually had more minutes in pre-season than Luke Shaw, just about. It was a close run thing between the pair of them, but I think Luke Shaw's experience was a key factor in this, and ultimately I thought he was a pretty good performer today. I thought just those little touches, those little moments when you're under pressure, he drags it back, or he pushed it round, I can't remember the opponent, but he took a little touch that was deceptive, and then he frees Cunha down the line, and it was when Cunha then wrestled to win the ball back again, and he ultimately won a foul, and it was one of those moments that got the crowd up, and everyone's kind of thinking, here we go, this is what we want.
It felt bright, it felt sharp in those early stages, didn't it? That was the frustrating thing about when the goal was conceded almost, because it just popped a lot of that early sort of energy inside the ground.
But United was still better after the goal as well. But better before the goal.
The second half, I thought they were better than the first half.
Yeah,
because they pinned Arsenal back, and I know they didn't really create loads of clear-cut chances, but there was lots of very close to it. Mbeumo, when Cunha would run through past Ben White and teed him up. Obviously, we'd talk about the crosses that went in as well.
Dorgu at the post.
Dorgu at the post in the first half. Yeah, I forgot about that, to be fair.
He smacked that ball,
I'm glad he did that shot and not the one that he'd done. He sort of had a bit of a sighter, didn't he, with that first one from 30 yards. I mean, Ugarte should definitely not shoot from 30 yards again as well. Can we just make that point?
Be shooting from 3 yards. I actually like him, but that was a big moment in the game from Ugarte. and 87 minutes more or less, and it just didn't even come close to the target.
You just need more patience.
Yeah,
you just need more patience. There was a ball out time, I had to think at that point, and Amorim was right in front of where I was sat, because I was in the pitch side position, and you could see the frustration that came out of him at that point, because United had the pressure on, and they had pressure on a little bit earlier when Ben White had gone down injured, when it was Matheus Cunha that did that unbelievable touch to take it past him. And I loved Cunha getting a bit annoyed with him as well. I kind of wanted some of the others to join in, actually, just to support him a little bit, or the crowd to get on the Arsenal players back a bit more.
Well, that's it. It looked like it was Arsenal time wasting again, but actually did get hooked, didn't he? He did, just after that, so he probably was a bit injured.
Well, you don't know, do you, to be honest? I mean, they definitely do stretch some of the rules, like with the goal itself. Let's talk about that then. I've kind of avoided it to this point. Is it a foul, first off?
I didn't think it was when I was watching inside the stadium, and maybe partly because the referee let a few things go in the first half. So Saliba could have been booked on a separate thing to that. Luke Shaw also had a pretty heavy tackle. I thought it was weak goalkeeping when I was watching from my seat. I don't have the advantage of seeing multiple replays to it. But I thought it was weak goalkeeping.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. I didn't think it looked like a foul in real time, and it just was a familiar feeling, right? Because we've had this with Andre Onana at Wolves, with Matheus Cunha scoring, had it at Tottenham with Altay Bayindir, which was an example that got brought up in the post-match press conference, which we might get onto with Ruben Amorim, which was a bit of a fraught one, I would say.
Yeah.
I just think that you, as a goalkeeper, you've got more license to be rougher with your opponents. You can just sort of go in and barge and punch the ball. He actually got his hand to the ball and kind of flapped it towards his own goal. It would have been an own goal if Calafiori hadn't nodded it in on the line. So I don't really buy the excuse that he couldn't have punched it clear. If you get your hand to it, I think you can do. And maybe that's being harsh on him. Maybe another game, a referee blows for a foul there, and that could have happened, certainly. I think you're probably saying we got away with one there, though, if that happens. So, yeah, I just think the goalkeeper's got to be better, or the system around him has got to be better, because it was Saliba, and was it Mason Mount? Yeah. So, is that the right setup? Could you get more players around him to make sure that Arsenal don't do that?
I asked Matthijs de Ligt about that exact thing after the game, and he said that there's a balance, because you don't want to put too many people around the goalkeeper, or even you get involved more. Because I asked him directly, could the team do more in that scenario to help the keeper? He said that the problem is, if you get too involved or you get too many people around it, you can end up impeding your own goalkeeper, or fouling your own goalkeeper, is what he said. You wonder whether Mason Mount is the right player to do that when it's someone like William Saliba that he's up against. But also, like, Saliba's not trying to play the ball in any way, shape or form, and he's just standing in the way. So, I mean,
do you think they targeted him?
It feels like that, doesn't it? But then that's Arsenal, isn't it? And I don't think it's just because it's Altay Bayindir that they targeted him. I think they would target any goalkeeper in that scenario. And Bruno Fernandes, I heard say, I think to Sky after the game, that they'd had a briefing before the season that holding and those types of incidents inside the box, that the officials were going to be a lot stricter on that this season. So he was making the argument that perhaps they could have looked at that more. But the other thing I heard, actually, the other element of it was Tim Howard talking for NBC, who said that if it is a foul, then Altay needs to sell it more.
Yeah.
He was sort of saying, if you are being impeded, let the referee know, go down, fall backwards, go. You
force the referee to make a call there, don't you?
Go somewhere that forces the referee to make more of a decision. So perhaps there's different ways it could be done. But yeah, Amorim wasn't happy with suggestions that meant that Bayindir shouldn't have been the pick. Because it was kind of, controversial is maybe strong, but it was eye-catching that it was Bayindir who started, because by all accounts, Andre Onana's fit.
Yeah.
Not even in the squad.
Well, that's it. Should we get into it? The post-match press conference. So I was in it, and there was a few stages to it. But one of the questions was, so the first question was, what did you make of the goal? And his point was, as a goalkeeper, you either choose to punch the ball or push the player in front of you. You can't do both in his mind. And so Altay tried to punch the ball, but he's being fouled. It should be a foul. But okay, if they're the rules, we need to play by those rules, and we need to do that ourselves. So okay, that's a kind of lesson learned. But even though you have already seen this happen, a couple of times before, and then it moved on to, could Tom Heaton have started the game? He did pretty well on pre-season tour. I'm trying to think of the game that it was against. That was it the
Bournemouth
game. Yeah, a couple of good saves. Yeah, that was it. And yeah, he's a Premier League goalkeeper. Played for England. So yeah. But Amorim's face as the question was being asked was one of incredulity. It was a picture, and I think not against Tom Heaton, but probably just him thinking it was obviously going to be Altay Bayindir if it wasn't going to be Andre Onana, and then he went really kind of strongly in his defence of him. A little bit similar to, maybe I'm stretching it a little bit, but when Fergie defended Veron to people, he didn't call anyone, effing idiots, but he was basically saying, what other occasion are you talking about? And he was told about the Spurs goal, and he went, yeah, but without VAR, that's what happened. With VAR, it's a foul. And what happened in the next game? Arsenal. He was absolutely incredible in that game against Arsenal. So I make my decision based on the entirety of the evidence in front of me, and it was my choice to go with Altay. But it does then lend the question, well, okay, if that's the case on this one, his performance overall today, there's that sort of shaky pass, wasn't there, out to Bruno in an injury time.
I thought the rest of his game was okay, actually. I didn't think there was any issues beyond the goal.
We've probably seen it through a prism of a general consensus that Manchester United's goalkeeping position is an issue.
Yeah.
And if you wind back a couple of weeks, I think you would have said there's two issues. There's the forward, and they've gone out and bought Sesko, and there's a goalkeeper. Now, you might say there's a midfield issue there as well. Do I think everyone at Manchester United's absolutely delighted with the goalkeeping situation? No, I don't. Do I think if Ruben Amorim was asked, would you like a new goalkeeper tomorrow, and you have a choice, he would say yes. He's defending his player. I don't mind him defending a player, especially one who doesn't get many outings. Tom Heaton, I've always thought I don't think he's been a hindrance when he's played for Manchester United. He's always pushed quite strongly for wanting more first-team games, and I don't mind that from him. I wouldn't have been uneasy if Tom Heaton would have started today, given the goalkeeping issues, because Bayindir, he was fantastic against Arsenal in the Cup last year, but judging him from what we saw last season, I wouldn't describe him as fantastic at all. Nor would I describe Andre Onana as well. He had some great games and he had some absolute howlers as well. So my original point about the goalkeeping area being an issue, I think I'm being completely fair in saying that. And it's just unfortunate that a goalkeeping issue, and we've argued the merits, whether it was or wasn't, cost Manchester United the game today.
Why do you think Andre Onana wasn't in the squad?
Well, Ruben Amorim was, I think, fairly open about the fact that he theoretically could have been in the squad if he decided.
He's over his hamstring problem.
Yeah. He's had 3 sessions this week. I think that he might have expected to perform. That's what I sort of said in the pre-match podcast that we did, where we were kind of picking our team. I thought,
you don't hold press conferences. You're not got that status of importance.
Hear me speak. I would get more agitated than Ruben Amorim for sure. I'd start, calling out everybody.
Don't point at me.
I'm calling out you. I don't like your questions, actually.
You could have a laugh, couldn't you, if you started doing press conferences? You see,
don't give him an idea.
The Livingston manager the other day was asked a question, how do you keep in touch with someone in America? And he's like, we've got this thing at our club called a telephone. And it's just brilliant how he did it. We've got this app, right, called WhatsApp. And what you do, you press a button and it's just brilliant how he did it.
I'm surprised that you don't hold press conferences for your family like first thing in the morning. Right now, who's got any questions about what we're going to do today, where we're going to go, what maps we're going to use?
I tried to say to my daughters last year, I'm paid for my time. And what I'm saying to you now is you can have me for free. I'm not going to charge you. I'm going to make you breakfast for free. And they're just like, shut up, Dad.
Correct. Yeah. Correct call.
I agree.
Anyway, back to the present matter. Andre. So I think that ultimately he says it's a call because he didn't, he's not played a game yet this pre-season. And that's a fair, valid point as well.
Well, he's tried to push the idea of competition in the group as much as possible. So this is his way of proving the point that you're going to have to earn your place back in the team. It's not just about being an automatic choice anymore.
Yeah. But I think that if he was absolutely sold on his goalkeeper, he would be back in the team, I think. And I know
so he's not.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But weirdly, I guess he had to say this, but he was pressed on, are you happy with your goalkeepers? Are these 3? And he was like, yeah, I'm happy with my goalkeepers. It wasn't the first time asking.
Exactly. What can he say?
And clearly,
goalkeeper.
You know that there's an issue because...
To say that publicly after buying 3 really expensive players is a huge statement. Sometimes I think you've got to keep a closer counsel. And
he's trying to.
Yeah, he's trying to. Is he covering it well? It's quite emotional, isn't it?
Well, he is, but
I think that was probably the worst result, wasn't there, in performance for him to be composed about. And I guess it wasn't the first time he'd been asked these questions, right? Like
No.
You know better than us, don't you?
Yeah, he would have done the host broadcast at Sky, he'd have done the BBC, he'd have done probably 3 international interviews, he'd have done a radio interview, he'd have spoke to MUTV, so he's probably done 7 interviews before he's walked into that press conference.
Yeah,
and I imagine, I don't know because I wasn't across them all, but I imagine he would have been asked similar-ish questions because the themes from that game were so clear, and he would have been asked about his goalkeeper repeatedly. So by that point, he's probably like a bit fed up.
And he probably thinks he has to defend his goalkeeper, right? He has to show support for somebody who's come under criticism before, and hopefully that show of support make sure that his confidence isn't dinted, to any great degree.
Do you think it makes United go back in the market today?
I don't think so. I've been told the whole way along that a new goalkeeper really is dependent on Andre Onana's future, and there's been no indication that he will depart this window. I know that they made the loan bid for Emi Martinez, which then does indicate that they're not wholly satisfied with their goalkeeping department, but not to the degree where they'd be putting down £30 million. So that's what we spoke about on the last pod, wasn't it? The Donnarumma stuff, where it's not one that they're going to pursue at present, right? Like let's caveats, let's leave a little bit of room, because you never quite know what is going to happen in the market. But I don't sense any great appetite to pursue that because they've spent money elsewhere on the goals, which was the big point that they needed to address. It's a shame that they didn't score any today, because that ultimately would have made Bayindir's mistake, if we're calling it that, an irrelevance.
Okay, we'll talk more about transfers a little bit later on. Okay, before we get back into the match reaction, including, of course, Benjamin Sesko starting his Manchester United career on the bench, I want to point out that tickets are on sale for Talk of the Devils Live. We're very excited to be going on tour. Can we call it that? I think just about in the autumn again. Tickets are available. All the details on how to buy them, all the dates are in the show description. Have a look on our social media accounts as well. There'll be lots of information on there about coming down. It was the highlight of last season and the season before for us, to be honest. It's brilliant to see so many people there. They were sold out last time, so fingers crossed we'll get there again. So if you want to come down and see the shows, get involved, don't miss out, don't be disappointed. So just to spell it out then, we're going to be in Belfast, Dublin and Cork. So we've got a little tour over the water in October. So Belfast, Limelight, October the 12th, Dublin, Vicar Street. We've had a few messages about that already. People very up for that and that venue. That's October the 13th. And then Cork at the Opera House for the very first time in Cork on October the 14th. And then the following month in November, we're in Manchester, back at New Century Hall. Hopefully they'll have some bespoke cocktails again for us, like the last time we were there. That's November the 10th. And then at the Soho Theatre in Walthamstow in London on November the 11th. Like I say, all the details on how to buy tickets are in the show description. There'll be details on our social media as well. So go and take a look at that. We'd absolutely love to see you there. And thank you to everyone who's bought a ticket already. Right, let's get back into the match stuff. Benjamin Sesko on the bench. Laurie, I saw a video on social media. I didn't think he was going to start on the bench.
Benjamin Sesko.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe he just goes...
Did he say he was going to start?
Do you remember?
No.
It's only the last podcast.
You were there, Andy.
Sorry, we were predicting the team. I thought you meant ahead of today. That
he did all right otherwise, in fairness.
Yeah, he did.
Well, I had to give Carl his credit because he said Dallo over Ahmad.
He did.
Well, someone said on this show months ago, I would be very shocked if Ahmad starts the first game of the season at Video Godallo.
Yeah. We got Shaw, didn't we?
Yeah.
Shaw, De Ligt, Casemiro.
I thought Casemiro played well today.
Yeah, he was all right, yeah.
De Ligt was excellent, by the way.
De Ligt was very good.
We've not talked about him yet. I thought the way he played that particular position, he definitely justified Amorim choosing him over Maguire, and he kept Victor Gyokeres very quiet, which I think we'll come on to in a moment, because he got a bit of treatment from Old Trafford, didn't he, which was great.
He did indeed. I mean, United's midfield wasn't overrun by Arsenal. You sort of think that's the strength of them and perhaps the weakness of United. And
with that midfield, you do expect them to control more elements of the match. It goes back to the point we were saying that it felt like a more chaotic game, which is what United wanted. There wasn't Zubimendi on the ball a lot. thought he was decent, actually, to be fair to him, but it wasn't like he was dictating the game. Anyway, Benjamin Sesko didn't start.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just thought, maybe, he's the new signing. I know he's not going to play the full match, but was he really going to start Mason Mount up top? Okay, he didn't actually. It was more Mateus Cunha that was that
he was
number
like
9.
The left 10 Mount, wasn't he?
It did rotate a fair bit, but so okay, that's fine. I just thought maybe put Sesko on, but he only got 15 minutes or something like that. There was that one glancing header chance. So he's obviously going to need a bit of time to kind of adjust to his teammates. Yeah, but he was next to Yoro, and Yoro's tall, I guess, then, because they were kind of
Yoro's
same height,
6'3", is he, something like that?
So
I think Sesko's 6'5". I think is what the
saying?
measurement's been given so far. Yeah,
they look kind of similar heights to Yoro.
Heights are a bit weird though, aren't they? There does seem to be some argument over height sometime. But anyway,
I just tell people I'm 6 foot, give or take a few inches. You can't really read too much into his performance, because I think it was a brief interlude. It would have been great, wouldn't it, if he'd sort of popped up with that winner off the bench, a bit like Xerxes. Last opening day. He got a bit of stick from the Arsenal fans, Sesko, didn't he?
Yeah.
Not good enough for the Arsenal or whatever it was. So it was quite fun, wasn't it? The Gyokeres, Sesko sort of battle, and then they were never on the pitch at the same time together in the end.
Is that right? Is that how it timed? I think with Sesko, I wonder, listening to Amorim this week, I know the press conference was maybe slightly different. We sort of came out of the press conference thinking, well, yeah, he's really backed him there. He talked about some of the, the thorough work he'd been doing to get ready and be available for the game. And in Amorim's assessment, he thought he could start the game. I wonder whether there's just that little bit of trying to temper the expectation with him a little bit. When Amorim spoke last week, he was suggesting that it should be Mbeumo and Cunha. When I spoke to him, he suggested that Mbeumo and Cunha should be the ones that get the expectation and get the pressure. And that actually for Sesko, because he's a bit younger, because he's new to the league, because he has come in a little bit later, there needs to just be a little bit more patience with him.
I think that's fair. He is younger. I thought it's a big shirt, the Manchester United one, but I thought Cunha and
especially when you're 6'5", it was extra large.
Very big.
Yeah.
I thought they handled it really well today. Sesko, Gyokeres, it was a nothing game for both of them. Sesko had that header towards the end, which just landed on the other side of that door in Salford Quays. He's not going to be judged on that. Maybe there's a little bit of kidology in the press conference on Friday to get Mikel Arteta thinking,
we'll have a bit of that.
They might be doing this. He's new in. He's going to need support exactly the same as Rasmus Hojlund. I know that Sesko is the shiny new toy and everyone thinks he's going to be great and an upgrade, but he is going to need support at a new club, living in a new country with new teammates in a really difficult position at a really difficult club. And Manchester United have not been prolific, not been scoring enough goals. The service has not been good enough. I'm confident with those forward players that the service will be better this year. But the idea that you can just click and get a Van Nistelrooy is playing in a very different team to someone who's going to be scoring a lot of goals.
Well, his goal scoring record's not what Van Nistelrooy's was arriving either, is it?
No, but Arsenal was so deep today. There was times when Arsenal couldn't get out their own box today. So it's frustrating, but it's also encouraging.
Well, United had 22 shots, I think it was. I'm just going to get the stats up here. Yeah, I think it was 22 shots. It was the most they'd had in a game against Arsenal since the 8-2 back in 2011. 7 shots on target. I think I said it before, but Raya made more saves this Premier League weekend than any other goalkeeper. On XG, United were 1.97. This is from XG Philosophy on X. United were 1.97, Arsenal were 1.33, but only 0.29 of that was open play. So that shows how much they limited them.
But does that count the Calafiori one? I mean, that must be like a 1, the Calafiori.
Well, that's set piece, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Just on the line, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Needed to bring Anderson back against Arsenal. I know he's probably like nearly 40 now.
Or Phil Neville.
Phil Neville, yeah, both of them. Just bring him on the bench.
They're the centre mids.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? We're dwelling on it now and I'm just feeling a little bit gutted.
But doesn't that underline the suggestion that they were better, that it felt better, that what we saw felt more encouraging?
So let's go back to the last 2 first games of the season. Fulham last year, 1-0, scraped it. The year before, beat Wolves.
1-0 Wolves, yeah.
But Wolves, there was this lad called Cunha. Wolves were miles better for large chunks of that game. So I'm probably more encouraged after both of those wins, even though Manchester United lost. But again, Amorim needs wins big time. We can't be sat here in a month going, played really well against Burnley. He needs wins because of what happened last season. It's following him into this season. But I don't want the tone all week to be one of absolute frustration because there were so many good things. Remember the last time United weren't in Europe? I've done a piece for The Athletic which went up on Saturday, and it was 14-15. Great pre-season. Swansea City won the opening league game at Old Trafford. And all hell broke loose. Whoa. And I don't sense that now.
No, and similar after the Brighton and Brentford double defeat under Ten Hag as well. I said before about attaching statistics from last season into this season. So one of the ones that was doing the rounds that The Athletic shared was that Ruben Amorim's lost 15 of 28 Premier League matches, is the fastest manager to losing 15 games, not in charge of a newly promoted side since Paul Hart in charge of Portsmouth in 2009, which is not a complimentary comparison.
Stats can prove anything. Look, Manchester United fans need to get behind the team and not just be sucked into this vortex of negativity.
I agree.
Because
I agree. I don't mean to be contributing to that.
And they did, to be fair. So obviously there was the moment before the game where they cut the music 15 minutes before the kickoff. And
United Road on kickoff.
That was great, that wasn't it? When it cut and it just went silent, and then it's like, right, over to you guys.
That's been driven by the first team group.
Yeah. You could tell it was quite synchronised. It was a good sort of strategy of letting the atmosphere develop naturally. Even Arsenal fans, I think, quite enjoyed that because they were giving it some before you got to the Take Me Home song. But then at the end of the game as well, I mean, players collapsed to the floor. Yoro, I'm trying to think of other ones. They were
most
devastated
of the team
to lose.
On the deck.
Yeah, they were. I think obviously the
Munich
the
in Camp Nou style.
It was a bit like that. I mean,
it was.
They haven't just lost the treble, but it felt like a really important moment for them, and I think they were physically drained, but also emotionally. I think they were gutted, and then they got up off the feet and onto the feet, and then they did the kind of lap of applause, and fans stayed, and they stayed with them. They sung the songs, and I think that showed there is a connection there. It's not like this is going to sort of turn and get fragmented. It sort of feels like they want them to do well, and they appreciated the performance they put in.
There's still things to be worked out as well, isn't there? I mean, we were talking on the way to the game, gave Laurie a lift because he didn't want to pay for the car parking.
Thanks.
That's all right. That Rasmus Hojlund wasn't going to be involved. He was still there, actually. Andrew Onana was still there as well. Saw him in the tunnel before the game. But it feels more pointed, really, for the immediate future that Rasmus wasn't part of the matchday squad today, because it would have been much easier to fit him in to that squad if they'd really wanted to.
Well, in our drive in, Ian, thank you so much. Stuck to the speed limits and indicated and checked his mirrors at all times. Fantastic service. We were debating, right, so who's the 9 then on the bench, right? And we kind of came to it and we're like, there's kind of one that we weren't quite getting, because we were like, all the other ones were first team regulars.
Who's the 9 players as opposed to the number 9 on the bench? Yeah.
So it was, so we saw Tyler Fredrickson or Diego Leon were the 2, and in the end it was Fredrickson. So that shows you there was also Heaven on the bench, there's Maguire on the bench, and okay, maybe there's 3 centre-back spots, sort of. So,
well, they had Sesko and Xerxes, so then you would have had Hojlund as well.
But if you want a goal, clearly it was a choice, right? And we asked him afterwards, he sort of says it's just a choice, but it's a message, right? And I think Hojlund will take this.
You think it's as clear as that? It's a message?
Yeah.
And you do as well?
Yeah. And I think it all changed pre-season in Chicago. I think that's when it changed. Like that. I think Manchester United have just decided we're going to look somewhere else. And it is a ruthless business. And I do have some sympathy for Hojlund.
Is this, though, I'm going to try and play devil's advocate, because I do have some sympathy for Rasmus Hojlund as well. But is this the type of decision that United should make when they are trying to change the energy and change the forward momentum of the team? Because you think back to some of the players in recent seasons who've maybe not hit the heights that we'd expect them to, and they were still given new contracts and they still stayed around the club, and they weren't able to move people on maybe as quick as they would have wanted to. So is this a bit more decisive and a bit more the way it should be?
If it works out. Because that's how it's going to be judged.
That's always the way it's judged,
It's go back to 14-15. Right, we're not messing about now. We're being decisive. Radamel Falcao, Angel Di Maria, Daley Blind, Marcus Rocco. I can't believe these people play for Manchester United. Let's just sit back and watch us win the league. Doesn't go to plan. We all, right now, Sesko's stock is really high because we think he's going to be brilliant. But we've also been burned by so many players that it might not work. So if he is a success, and I hope he is, then it will be brilliant from the decision makers. They were ruthless when they were needed to be. Great. If Manchester United finish 15th, which they won't, by the way, because the players will be that annoyed
14th.
about what's happened today. If they can somehow
channel the
some
energy.
of that, I mean
agree.
it, because
I agree.
They deserve something today. They really did. They gave it a lot, and it's very hard to find fault.
You're also going to see now as well the effect of not having a game for a week, which we've sort of speculated how that's going to go for the team. The fact that you'd have to wallow in defeat for a week, the fact that you have got a week off and to prepare for the next game. So we're going to see actually how that energy plays out across this next week. Maybe it's going to be too early again to draw firm conclusions on the effect of only having one game a week and not being in Europe, but it's going to be an interesting aspect because it hasn't happened since that season.
Well, at least they've got the big Grimsby game next week, so they've got, two games next week, I suppose. And that will be interesting if Hojlund is still not even used in that squad, right? That really will be a message, because he's been told your minutes are going to be a challenge this season if you stay, maybe even stronger than that. And so I think that this was the result of that. This is a Premier League opener. You're not in the squad.
Get your agents, get busy.
Well, let's say, there's clubs that are interested.
Where are we up to with that? Do you know?
Well, we've said, haven't we, AC Milan have certainly registered interest. I think RB Leipzig are still there. And so this point, Hojlund has said, I want to stay. So there's been nothing advancing, because if your player wants to stay, that's where it ends at that point. But now, as this then becomes a reality, does he change his mind? That's the kind of idea. And it's been really interesting. When we broke the story today, the reaction from people was kind of like, wow, not even in the squad. And I think a lot of people in the comments on The Athletic were saying, this feels really harsh. But if they really do want to change the dynamic, then they're going to have to be this kind of ruthlessness. But there is a certain irony to the messaging being about professionalism and dedication. Hojlund has been professional and dedicated.
Question of that, is there?
He doesn't want to leave.
Yeah,
he's not an exile.
Anything.
No.
The only slur I've heard against him is his clothes were a bit lively, but even that was said in jest. I think he's been ultra professional.
The irony of a man who's been called a deckhand today coming in and someone's clothes being lively.
And I think he's very sad about the situation. He's a United fan.
Exactly.
He was absolutely overjoyed to join the club. But you shouldn't just keep somebody because they want to be there and they're happy to be here. But, I just think it's a really fascinating dynamic. And as you say, I think the situation did sort of change over in Chicago.
And there are not many strikers out there. And the club probably realised that we could get good money for him. Because
they still need to work the finances, don't they?
Yeah, they do. But remember what we said when he signed from Italy. I spoke to people in Italy, and he's the best young striker in Italy. The lad called Xerxes as well, who was at Bologna. So he wouldn't be. He's got a value. It's not going to be what Manchester United paid for him, but I still think United could get decent money for him, and there is still quite a bit of time. The deadline is not tomorrow. It's time to think things through. And for him to talk with the people close to him and decide what he wants.
Before I move it on, what was the general opinion of the first game of the season from a sort of a fan experience viewpoint? Because there was a lot of changes that were implemented today for the first time. Ticketing situation, obviously, and the new prices and the new structure of that, the new way for season ticket holders and ticket holders to get into the ground. What's the feedback you've had?
My observations were security has been ratcheted up again. There's new blocks on the roads around Old Trafford. I walked in towards the main stand at 25 minutes to kick off. It was probably busier under the Munich tunnel than I've ever known, apart from when there's like a protest going on. I was pretty struck by it.
Why people were struggling to get in, you mean?
It was just really busy. It was a choke point. And so I walked past where the Arsenal fans were, and you had all these United fans going past them singing, "Whoa, Robin Van Persie." And this lad was really leery, and he was going into him, and the police got him and pushed him away, and he come towards me, "All right, Andy, how are you doing?" I just said, calm down. But it was funny at the same time. And then you got into the Munich tunnel, and it was like, this is really busy. And I'd be interested in people's experience going through the turnstiles, because I only saw that quarter.
Well, let us know in the comments if you were there. Devilspod at theathletic.com as well. It'd be good to hear how people got on.
The mood was great outside the ground. Loads of people come up. Got tickets to see the live shows. The weather was, as some people wearing.
I'm still sweating now.
Some people were wearing shorts. interest in the area, the new executive area behind the dugouts. In my opinion, a very different demographic to the people who were sat there.
It's night and day from the protests that were going on at the end of last season, where people were understandably very upset at being moved with, banners and signs turned round to the director's box, expressing their disdain for what was being done. You've now got people that are paying £600 for a ticket in, sort of plush new seats. And
it's full of people like Laurie with the phones. Honestly,
there was a bit of an ironic moment because I was filming the action. When Sesko was coming on, they were all stood up, kind of, filming it. It's more that kind of environment, I think, than it's not going to be a hardcore section, that is it?
No, not at all. And that posh section, there were people standing up because they were giddy with the phones like that. And there was a bit of tension because the traditionalists to their side, sit down. I've been moaning here for 72 years. Just let me moan and sit down now.
Yeah.
And he's making, at least we've got something to moan about again. But it was noticeable.
I think they've probably got a right to moan, haven't they, considering they can't see what's going on.
I think if someone stands up for you, and it was, I'm being slightly jokey there, but it was noticeable.
Yeah, okay.
Which, if you're charging 10 times more for a ticket, you're going to get a different clientele there. And maybe some of the frustration was, I saw quite a lot towards Gyokeres when he came off. There was a bit of heat going his way.
He didn't have a good game, did he?
No, but it didn't feel just like football fan stuff. It's good to be back.
Oh yeah, but it didn't feel like someone we'd really missed out on there, did it? I mean, maybe I'm talking too soon. We shouldn't be judging a player off 70 minutes, whatever he got. But
I was told something interesting about why Manchester United didn't push really hard for him, and that was you look carefully at his stats. He's very effective against teams who are not elite teams. And the person just said, just see what his stats are in the Premier League at the end of this season. So I will watch with interest. Watch him score like 42 goals or something.
We're watching Victor. Okay, we're going to talk transfers now. Just a reminder, there are our social media accounts. If you've not checked them out already, we've got X, TikTok and Instagram at TOT Devils on there. If you've not hit subscribe and you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe, get involved in the comments as well. Give us a like, click the bell so you never miss an episode. If you are listening to us in the old school way, thank you. We appreciate everyone's support, of course. devilspod@theathletic.com if you want to get in touch with any points. Let's talk Carlos Baleba. We wanted to be believers. I wanted to continue using that for a lot longer. I wanted the songs that people had written and the chants and lyrics to last just a little bit longer. Is it completely out of the question now that he joins Manchester United before the end of this window, or how do you interpret it?
He's saying we won't see his face. We're not believers.
Yeah.
He actually uses that himself. Did you see? On his Instagram.
I've not followed him actually, no.
Well, I just saw that he obviously played, didn't he, for Brighton, and then he put hashtag, are you a believer? And then an arrow. And I think United fans were getting excited that he's sort of teasing it here. But then if you look back, he'd actually used it months ago. So he's cottoned on to that being quite a catchy little motto.
His social media manager has.
Yeah, whoever's to be fair, I would probably
can't imagine Carlos is sat there in the dressing room thinking up these things, but you never know.
I mean, David Ornstein has written, United, I think, have decided not to pursue this one. We did say, didn't we, that the talks were progressing to a point at which United would then make a call, are we going to make a bid or not?
Not going to pursue this one now, or not going to pursue this one full stop?
Well, I think he's obviously a player that they like. Ruben Amorim certainly advocates for it, and whether next season they could still get him, next summer rather, I don't know. The anticipation is that there will be more clubs in for him in that stage.
So this isn't a negotiation tactic. I saw a lot of suggestions that this could be United saying, right, we're not interested, and then
I don't get that feeling. I get the feeling that they've had club to club talks now as well. So they've kind of had a courtesy call, should we say, from United to Brighton to say we're not going to pursue this one and leave it there, and we appreciate that he's not for sale, or whatever price that not for sale would have looked like is just beyond what we could afford. I think there was perhaps a point early on in the negotiations where that kind of João Pedro money that we mentioned was raised as a possible fee, and then clearly Brighton have said no, it's going to be more than that. So I think that's where we're at with it.
My stance hasn't changed on it. I said it was going to be a difficult one. Manchester United absolutely wanted him, want him. And Laurie said Ruben Amorim, I'd extend that to the football side at Manchester United. But Brighton's demands are likely to be prohibitive. If you're watching this, Carlos, what I would say is you could play in front of the Stretford end, which was really good today, by the way. The TRA with all the flags, nice variety of flags. It looks amazing at the start, really good. Or you can play in front of people who've been going to live football since 2012 when Falmer Stadium opened.
This is your second nibble at Brighton.
Yeah,
you accused them of being Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean...
You can't go to the South Coast, can you?
No.
Southampton are getting it next week.
Yeah, Southampton will get it when they come up. Well, it's factually correct. Brighton were averaging 8,000 at Withdean.
I like this. You have brought facts, haven't you?
Yeah. And most people who watch Brighton weren't watching Brighton until they moved into the new stadium. So you can do that and, whatever they eat in Brighton. And
you've already established that it's chips, and it's usually the seagulls that steal them.
Yeah, that was
the soundbite from the last
one. You can
one.
come to Old Trafford and play in front of 73,000 and see and hear the Stretford end as it was today.
But
it is miles better.
Wasn't the suggestion?
And you get paid more money.
Wasn't the suggestion that he did want to do that?
Yeah.
And it's not him that's the issue, is it?
No, because unfortunately, he signed a contract with his name.
Do you mean they should have, preemptively thought, okay...
No, he can't see into the future. But the only way out of this is for him to just say, look, I don't want to play football anymore in front of people who've only been got to games since 2012. I've had a clear change of mind. I want to play in front of the Stretford end. And you couldn't blame him, could you?
Well,
if you're watching, Carlos.
So what happens now? Does it mean that United go back to their list of targets and jump one down and look at someone else? If Carl Anker was in this room with us, he'd be talking up Adam Wharton, I imagine, at this point.
Well, he was early on that one, wasn't he, to be fair? Because obviously now it's getting a bit of traction as well, that.
From where? Good sources? The Adam stuff?
I think he's been discussed, yeah.
I know his agent, I'll ask him.
To a degree.
He's my brother's mate.
Call him now.
Well, I would, but my phone's in the other room.
Oh, convenient.
Well, I'll tell you what I will say.
Go on.
He was offered to Manchester United before he joined Crystal Palace, and Manchester United said, no, thank you.
Because he hadn't played in the Premier League at that point.
There was a perception that signing a player from the lower end of the Championship might not fit. And at the time, you can sort of get that.
It's a question, isn't it? Could United ever do that? I would love United to actually take the plunge, but then there's the counter-argument to say, if they don't make it, it's such a pressurised environment.
Have they done that recently? I'm trying to think.
Dan James
was the closest.
Dan James was the
Swansea,
yeah.
And he wasn't the lower end of the Championship,
they made a profit on him, didn't they?
Yeah,
was he? Yeah.
Made a big profit on him.
Yeah.
So I get the point at the time, but Adam Wharton has been fantastic. But, the reviews I got about Baleba were even much better than the ones I've had about Adam Wharton.
I wonder, do they just wait now? And because Hojlund's another one that's been mentioned. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I went to Portugal once and I saw him play live.
Where did you go to?
It was a place called Braga.
Oh, let's go.
What you do is you fly into Porto and then you actually hire a car and you drive up the coast, and you ignore the mist that's on the road and the fog and the darkness, and you just do it because that's your job.
Should write a book about your trip to Porto.
I think it could be a 300-page novel that is a bestseller.
I'd actually read it, unlike him with mine. Well, anyway. What was great in America? Adam Crafton, who's a top journalist, come up and started talking about my book.
He did. He made me and giving absolutely exposed me.
What do you think, Laurie?
He's giving me detailed feedback on each chapter.
He asked him what his favourite chapter was.
And Adam talked through them all in loads of detail. And he was just sat there thinking, should I just be on my phone pretending I'm not hearing this? It was fantastic how uncomfortable he was.
He's just laughing now. He's not even responding.
I've got nothing to say.
He's got no obligation to read it, has he?
I don't suppose so.
No.
Well. No. We are supposed to be friends, but anyway. Back to Manchester United's midfield hunt. So, no was the answer. You don't think they're going to be going back to the list and going down to the next option?
I wouldn't say that categorically, because clearly midfield is one that they've looked at. Athletic dynamism. It was, like I say, it was okay today. It was fine. And Kobbie Mainoo didn't even get off the bench today.
No.
So that's an intriguing subplot as well.
Really interesting.
Well, I did think, I understand that Ugarte, it would have made more sense to me if Ugarte had started ahead of Kobbie Mainoo because it being Arsenal and because of their midfield. But when you are chasing the game, in some ways it would have been made more sense to bring Kobbie on at that point if you're trying to keep the ball and try and keep the pressure on.
And he can finish. He in those clutch moments, he can provide the key.
Although arguably it'd have been
shot.
another number 10 on the pitch, and they already had Cunha and Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount.
It's the new Pep Guardiola, isn't it? Just a team full of midfielders.
Just all 10s, isn't it? Yeah.
Team of 10s.
But to kind of round off your point, I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't know, I get the feeling that that Baleba was the one that they were maybe going to try and do. Yeah. And I don't know if they'll go for an alternative now.
And Casemiro, I know we mentioned him a little bit. I think he's looking on it. He played a beautiful pass to, I think it was to Mbeumo today, where he nicked the ball. So
what you're saying is they're going to trigger the +1 option in his contract?
No, I was aware as I'm saying that he is out of contract this year, and he would need one hell of a season.
They are surely not ever going to trigger that clause.
Trigger it. Stranger
cryogenic
things
chamber, I imagine, to do that.
Yeah.
Try and wind back time somehow. What about outgoings then? Because obviously we've talked about Hojlund a little bit. There's still Alejandro Garnacho's future to sort out. There's still Anthony's future to sort out. There's still Tyrone Malacia's future to sort out. There's still Jadon Sancho's future to sort out. And at least with him, there is a report that Manchester United have had an offer now from Roma for him.
£20 million. So basically the fee that Chelsea didn't pay, they paid the £5 million to not buy him, which is, I think, a unique situation. The 25 million was the overall package if they wanted to sign him. So Roma have put that money down. And now it's up to Jadon Sancho. He's got a lucrative contract.
Any idea?
All along, I was told, wait to the very end of the window for Sancho, and then he'll make up his mind, basically.
Once he knows what all his options are.
Yeah. And there is a theory, right, that if you have to take any kind of pay cut, he will say no to that, and that he's entitled to. And that then you could actually leave as a free agent next summer, and you'd be able to command whatever you wanted. You'd have your choice of options. It wouldn't just be limited.
Getting paid top dollar.
And you're still getting paid. Now, obviously, the counterpoint to that is you're not going to play for Manchester United, so you're really going to be that appealing a prospect next summer. So,
well, there's still the potential of playing at a World Cup as well, isn't there? If he gets his form sorted out for England.
And that's then a test of what's your priority, what's your desire to play football. He obviously showed it at Borussia Dortment. He obviously showed it at Chelsea. Yeah. So, let's see. But yeah, Roma being a genuine option there is encouraging for United. In terms of Garnacho, Chelsea are there, right? But you just hear that they're going to wait to the end of the window. I get the feeling they're sort of thinking £30 million for him. United are thinking maybe £50 million. Does it come in the middle? If United got £40 million for Garnacho, would you be happy? Would you think that's a fair enough price at this stage?
No, I don't think
you
so.
Would be happy?
I think United are thinking Chelsea aren't shy when it comes to asking for prices for their players.
Yeah.
And
they've offered a few as well, Chelsea.
Yeah, but they go low, don't they, when it comes to Manchester United players?
Well, Dango Ouattara signed for Brentford this week for a fee in excess of what we're talking about here with Alejandro Garnacho. Yeah. So, he has played in the Premier League, he has scored goals, but he wasn't an automatic first choice for Bournemouth. I know they were above Manchester United last year, but Garnacho was a first choice player for United, extremely promising. And United haven't been good sellers either. So you kind of want the new regime, and I'm sure they do too, to set an expectation that you aren't going to be able to mess us about anymore when it comes to selling players or buying players.
My feelings with him are laced with a bit of sadness because...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I thought he could have been... I just don't think he's been handled well. And I know he's got his own side to the story. You can make one miss out, but when you're making 6 or 7... it just leads me to think like that. There's another thing to watch out for, the form of the suitors. If your team has a terrible start to the season, you're suddenly under a huge amount of pressure to go and sign a player.
So it's good that Chelsea drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace.
I don't know how Roma have gone on, but if there is an expectation of your team and you don't start the season to that expectation, you are under pressure to go for players. And if you're bringing in a player from Manchester United, that can appease a fan base as well.
Anything else to look out for?
What, to the sales?
Because Tyrone Malacia's quiet.
He's been training by himself. I don't know what's going to happen now. I think he's actually the most complicated one to move on. It was said to me earlier on in the window.
Why the most complicated?
Because someone told me that he's the most complicated one to move on. It was also said to me earlier on
next week for more fascinating insight, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that, mate? Sorry, I'm just going to have a brew. I'll see you later. It was put to me earlier on in the window. It won't be complicated because there'll be loads of teams in Holland and Germany, and because there's not many left footers around as well. So there will be a demand for him. So I've just completely contradicted myself there.
You have actually, yeah.
I like it. You covered all bases.
I have done, yeah. Tero Malacia may or may not go. He's been training by himself. Yeah. In Manchester at a non-league ground.
Yeah. Is it not at Carrington?
No.
So I know they kind of had different schedules to the first team.
Yeah, some of them have been doing their own thing at little semi-professional clubs around the Greater Manchester area with stands on 3 sides.
Have they got illustrious unelected vice presidents?
May have.
Point for anyone who put those things together and managed to get their answer. That's it for Talk of the Devils for today. Andy, Laurie, it's been brilliant to do it with you as always. Thanks for being here in the studio. A few people have been asking about what our schedule is going to look like this season. So the intention, probably roughly speaking, depending on when the matches are and so on, is that throughout the campaign we will be doing shows for release on Mondays and Thursdays. There's also going to be our extra shows as well that we're going to be doing again throughout the season, so look out for those as well. But that's a rough expectation of what's coming your way. But for the moment, like I say, check out the social media accounts at TOT Devils. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like, get involved in the comments and click the bell so you never miss an episode of Talk to the Devils. But thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, most importantly, and click that bell so you never miss an episode of Talk to the Devils.